perfect.
Greetings and salutations, my VFX friends. If you, like me, are feeling a little overwhelmed by life right now, sometimes it's good to just take a step back and try getting control of one little thing at a time. When I'm overwhelmed, or just even overbored, I like to build things, like a couch or a table, a visual effects template to share with all of my friends, my very real friends. One of the few joys over the last little while has been getting a glimpse of the new Dune movie. And I thought an approachable effect from the trailer was these. They're called Holtzman Shields, and they stop high-velocity impacts, but allow for slower, deliberate attacks to be more deadly. I assume they're named after the Holtzman from the Ghostbusters reboot. Probably. Today, I'm going to show you how to use this Holtzman Shield template that I made, which you can download right now if you'd like. This lesson will include an overview of my new best friend, Rotobrush 2. I'm also going to show you a surprising way to use After Effects to add camera motion to kind of static shots. It's a useful tip that can help the continuity of a handheld shoot. Little changes that make your life easier is something that we could all use right now. So, let's begin. Whenever I need a fight scene, I call on resident badass Marta.
No!
And her band of UK stunt troopers. You've seen our fun result. And now let me show you how you can do this to your own footage using this simple template. This is the Holtzman Shield Effect template. It is designed to give you some great control over how much of the effect and what type of separation, shakiness, and color you're looking at for whatever design you choose to do. Now, below the surface of this easy-to-use interface is the effect layer, which works by using universe modes to blend a layer on top of itself using different blend modes, and then a transform effect to offset the layer each time. These properties are all controlled by a series of expressions that control the transforms and opacity values down here. And I will actually cover these in an advanced tutorial also released today in case you are interested in learning how to build your own custom effect like this. But in this video, I'll just go over how to use the template and also a few little handy tips and tricks at the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, simply click in the description below to the link which will bring you through to here, the Red Giant page, which will also have a Download Project Files button. Alright, so when you open the project file, you'll see a few effect comps right here, and a few source comps right there. I'm also including this nice little sample clip from our fight, just so you have something to use right off the bat in case you don't have your own footage yet, just to get your feet wet. So here's how it works. You go to the footage comp and you drag your clip into here, whatever length it is. Hopefully it's less than 20 seconds. And then the character comp is just a copy of this footage layer. And I'll explain it. You need it for the After Effects only version of the template, but you don't need it for the Red Giant version of the template. So let me go ahead and describe our template. This is the main event right here. We've got our footage doing these crazy glowy things. And the way it works is at the bottom we have our footage layer, which is visible. And it's just a copy of the footage, straightforward. Above that we have character hits. It's just a copy of the footage layer, but it is the source video for the echo effect above that. Let me turn that on. And so the echo effect is that cool blue copy, jittery copies of the footage kind of being extended out. And this echo effect is being controlled by our controller null above here. We've made this custom preset called Holtzman Controls, which allows you to turn up the opacity of this energy effect, allows you to tint the color of your echo. We can use whatever here. And you can also change the echo direction, basically the direction of these little halos that come off of the characters, including adjusting their amount of echo separation. So these are the main controls you might need. And under there you have some advanced controls. We have a blur amount, which obviously just blurs these echoes a little bit. We have the flicker rate, which is how fast the opacity of these layers are flickering by what amount right here. And the wiggle rate and the wiggle amount are wiggle controls for how much the individual echoes are shaking on their own random seed. Lastly, there's an overall offset XY, just in case you like the spread you're getting, but you want to just do a little manual adjustment for where they end up. Now, obviously right now, the whole screen is being echoed up right now, and that's probably not desirable. And in fact, this echo effect, which is doing all this, isn't a layer that you're going to interact with much. We can lock that right now and just kind of ignore it. But this character hits layer is one that you can jump into, and if you'd like, you can start drawing masks around any of your characters, and that will automatically affect this echo effect. Like I could feather this out, and a feathered mask gives me this kind of nice, basically a glow around the character that adds this echo. So automatically I get kind of a cool, crazy, glitchy shield effect out of that. My echoes are going too wide right now, so I can just jump to the controller, turn down that wiggle amount to a little bit more minimal, and maybe turn the opacity down a little bit. Now I can play that through and get a cool little shield effect like that. Now, on top of this, you can go to your character layer and add something like a curves effect and maybe dip down some of the darker values so you get kind of a more detailed look when you play this back. Kind of cool. You can set keyframes to your mask shape, and you can also set keyframes to any of these Holtzman control effects. So for example, if I had this turned down, I could keyframe it to 0 and then have it key up when she gets into fight position, like that. And then maybe have it fade back out by the end. And let me reset this offset here and just play that back for you. So you check that out as a little hint of this shield echo thing that appears for a moment. And super easy to set up that way. The mask, it doesn't even have any keyframes on it yet, but if you're near the character, you'll get some cool looks. Now the second, even more detailed thing you could do, say you don't want to use a feathered mask because it's getting like echoes of the background and you don't like that. Let me just clear out the effects here and this mask. And then I'm going to right click and open this layer like that. Now in here, I can use my new best friend, Rotobrush 2. Now if you've used Rotobrush 1 before and been unsatisfied, I highly encourage you to give Rotobrush 2 a chance. I've had some vastly improved results and I love using it now. So what I used to do with Rotobrush was I would kind of take my character and I would try to like draw, you know, like all over them, something like this, and then let it grab the shape. But I found that that's actually not the best practice for using Rotobrush, so let me undo that. What's helpful to Rotobrush is to have smaller individual strokes that After Effects can then sort of take and try to propagate along the different contours and moving objects within your subject. There's a little bit of slop here, so I'm going to hold down Alt and get rid of the shapes that weren't supposed to disappear. And now we've got a pretty great outline on this initial frame, which is right in the middle of our footage and can be tracked to be used for Rotobrush. And let me just step back into the comp on this frame real quick. You can see that now the effect is happening with this character. And let me show you something incredible. I'm just going to go ahead and play the rest of this clip. And once it gets to the end, Rotobrush is going to jump back to the beginning and start propagating from the beginning of the clip all the way to here. Alright, it's respecting the keyframes that I had set earlier on my controller layer for fading in and out. I'm actually going to delete my 0 pointer so she's kind of glowing the whole time. And let me just remind you that we didn't go back and do additional strokes in Rotobrush 2. We just started playing through this whole piece of footage. And remarkably, it has done an exceptional job of grabbing her outline. It gets her great. I didn't have to do any additional strokes, just that one stroke in the middle, and she is perfectly cut out and useful as her own source for this effect. Let me turn down my wiggle amount and the offset for a second so we can just appreciate how amazing Rotobrush was at grabbing her outline. It missed her fist there for like a few seconds when it was motion blurred, and I can always jump in and add those frames back in. But look at this. Now, this clip actually went even better than I expected, and your results may vary, but I have had a good amount of experience with Rotobrush 2 so far, and I can tell you it is remarkably faster than the old method. And I mean, if Rotobrush 2 weren't this simple, do you think I would waste time making Street Fighter 2 themed title screens for you people? I mean, of course, the answer is obviously yes, absolutely. I would absolutely still do this either way. But cool that it's easy, right? Let's see how many frames. 153 frames of Roto. That is pretty darn solid. On top of this all, I can jump in and dial up the reduced chatter, which will try to eliminate things that pop in and out. I can shift the edge in just a little bit, try to trim out the edges here that we're getting the ground, and maybe feather the shape a little bit. And look at that. Beautiful fidelity and surprisingly simple to get to here. I'm going to check use motion blur, which is really helpful for moments where she's moving fast, so it kind of gives a bit of a feathered edge to some of these things. And a reminder that I'm showing you how to roto the entire clip, even though in use you'll actually only need to roto a few frames surrounding the impact moment if you're being true to the movie. But it's always good to know that you could, roto the whole thing. But now doing some of the same things we did earlier, like adding some curves and, adjusting it so it doesn't over brighten her too much, going to our controller layer, adding some echo separation, maybe a little bit, I actually kind of like it going forward like that. We'll blur these a teeny bit, we'll add some wiggle to them, but not too much. Maybe we'll just add some keyframes so the opacity comes up in the middle and the echo separation amount goes up a little bit, and then they both dip back down to 0. Let's just see what that looks like to us. Pretty cool, and awesome that the roto was one of the simplest parts of that. Now, one handy thing that you can do is this echo effect. This is just one layer that does all of that work, and you can do anything like add an additional effect to here. So I could add like an optical glow to this layer and get a really cool effect. I could even colorize it, like that, and get some neat Force Ghost looking craziness in here. Maybe make the size way big, turn the amount down just so we get this cool. I'm not even looking like the movie now, but it just looks neat to see. But lots of fun things that you could do with post effects after what's already there if you want to mess with it. You can add something like chromatic aberration, so there's a teeny bit of color separation so it's not so monotone. Really cool, and makes the effect look even more intense. Maybe I'll turn down the glow amount that much. Look at that. Now let me quickly go over the After Effects version of this template. Now it looks quite similar in that there's a controller at the beginning that you can do all of these same controls with, but I'm using CC Composite in here instead of Universe Modes. And the drawback of Composite is that you're not choosing a layer that you can source and its blending mode. It's actually just compositing whatever the native layer is on top of itself. So if you want to cut out a character and stuff, you could try cutting out the effect with a mask on this layer, but it's going to be a little bit wonky and weird. So what we asked you to do with this version of the template is dive into the character pre-comp, and in here is where you would do any of that crazy masking. I'll feather that out, kind of like this, and then when I dive back to my AE version, that's sort of what we were getting earlier. Same thing goes for if you wanted to do your Rotobrush, dive back into the character comp here. I'll delete this mask, and then open up this layer and Rotobrush in here. Same as any color correction things like curves that you want to throw on here before they go back. So back here, pretty similar effect here. You can add keyframes to all of this stuff. Just remember that in the AE version, you got to work hand in hand with this character comp. When I took a stab at this longer sequence, I basically just loaded the whole thing into a timeline like this and went through setting opacity, keyframes for my Holtzman effect, and altering the mask shape at given points. And honestly, that covered most of it. I didn't actually use Rotobrush except for a few key shots. Specifically, I used it on this belt activation shot. Now, as this shoot came together really quickly, we used these little belt buckles to sort of signify the activation point of the shields, but I wanted to enhance that a little bit more. And so I took a picture of the bottom of a lightsaber that Aaron Rabinowitz got me, like you do, and cut it out and placed it right in front of this belt here as a little pre-comp. I used Kingpin Tracker to track all the parts that the belt were visible, starting at the beginning, skipping a little section in the middle, and then resuming the track at the end. And this meant that I had to manually guess a few frames here through the center, but most of that would be obscured by Marta's hand, which I had also rotobrushed. With some color correction and a little bit of comping within this little lightsaber shield activator comp, I was able to add a few little beeps and blips right after this moment happened. And this made the shot much more interesting than when it was that feathered mask version. All right, upon reviewing, Aaron Rabinowitz had a good note, which is that the camera is so dynamic in this shot and the one before that this one stuck out as a little bit static. The shot's already pretty tight. It's full frame right now, so I can't add much camera shake to it, but I have an idea of something crazy we could try with our rotomats. In my Built Activate comp, I am going to turn off a bunch of stuff. I'm going to leave this body shape and the background, and I'm going to use the body as an inverted alpha matte for the background. So basically just punching out these pixels right here. And now I'm going to use content-aware fill to try to generate a different background layer. I'll crank up the alpha expansion just so I get some of the area outside of her matte. I'll have the object mode here and say generate fill layer. In real time, that took exactly 90 seconds. And check it out. I've now got a background plate that respects the slight camera bob we had going on. Pretty sweet. So I can disable the track matte going on down here. I can bring my fill level down to the bottom here and parent it to the background, and check out this ridiculous cheat. I'm going to lock this fill layer so it's connected to the background just like that. And now I will actually scale up and maybe even stretch out this background layer. It's pretty out of focus anyway. And now I could drag it to be kind of way over, let me think, on this side at the beginning of the shot, add a position keyframe like that and drag that over here. And then at the end of the shot, drag the position all the way over to here. And I'm going to add an ease out keyframe here and leave that one like that. So it's like the camera is picking up a bit of a fake parallax orbit around Marta. And I'm going to exaggerate that even more by adding a new adjustment layer, putting that right here, and adding some optics compensation. That's right here. And if I check reverse lens distortion, I think if I turn this up, yeah, I get some fake curvature to a lens kind of behind her like that. So I'm just going to turn it up a little bit just so you get some non-linear things going on when this fake orbit happens. And there are some little artifacts in there, but honestly, in motion, this is going to look great. Another helpful suggestion I got was to add some camera shake to this shot. And what's great about camera shake is that I can still apply it right here in Premiere. So I'll just drag that up to my layer. I'm going to have a pretty quick frequency, like 17 here, and but minimize these amplitudes, more like 10 for everything. And then I'll set a keyframe for the master amount right here at the impact moment, have it be pretty much nothing before that, and then have the master amount key down back to 0 after that initial hit. And wha-bam! Nothing personal, Marta. That might be a little extreme. This cameraman is very shocked that the character is getting slammed into a wall, so very shocked. You've already seen the final result of all this, but we'll play it in the background here. A very special thanks to Marta and Rajesh for filming this awesome scene with Reactor Films, and to Aaron Rabinowitz who helped me with color and getting this tutorial into shape. Dune's release date may have been pushed back, but in the meantime, you can add fight effects to your own footage, and who knows, there are a lot of creative visual treats in that trailer, so maybe we'll revisit Dune again. If you're an advanced user, you can take a look right now at my deep dive into the expressions and pseudo-effect controllers and math behind creating this template. And there's a link in the description. Download the project files and learn about all the cool products I used to make this tutorial here below. So stay safe, stay creative. We love you all.